am Justin Bautista. I run mamalotties.com and I am a social media chef, I guess. Well, the main focus of the website is to share local, it started off sharing local recipes inspired by all the grandmothers here in Gibraltar, and sort of building up upon that. So we started with a little community on Facebook, which I think after I launched it had about 200 likes or so. Slowly started building up with different grannies sending me recipes. I got recipes from my grandmother and then eventually developed them and started tweaking them to make my own, and sort of started building up from there. I think now it's on about 2,700 followers more or less on Facebook, but we also have Instagram, Twitter and the website. The whole sort of brand, I should guess, started because I was a bit homesick at uni. I wanted to cook recipes, from Gibraltar when I was in London, and it made me feel a bit better. So I used to call and I used to say, can you, how do I make this? Or can you recommend a dish that I can make? How do I make rotto? Because everyone can make rotto simply and it's cheap. And that's how it started. So eventually I built up a little collection of recipes, of local recipes, and I started going from there. And that developed where I used to make my housemates eat all the recipes that I make, because you just can't cook a Gibraltarian dish for one person. You have to cook it for at least 4. I just thought, why not make a collection instead of having it just in a notepad that's going to get lost, put it in a form that's not going to get lost. I put it digitally into a website, which then expanded into books and into just different areas. My grandmother basically is what inspired me for the website. She is the person who I've gone to every time I wanted a recipe when I was at university, and a recipe whenever I wanted to cook something or wasn't sure about something. So I used to call her up, Skype with her and be like, Mama, how do I make paella today? So she used to walk me through it step by step, tell me now is when you put this, now's when you put this, measure this much. And I started making notes, and that's how it sort of developed. My typical Gibraltarian grandmother is sort of a really warm, loud old lady who's just sort of the head of the whole family, is the one that's in control, takes no crap from anyone, but will tell you, this is what it is, this is what you get, but come to lunch to my house every day because I'm going to make you a 5-course meal no matter how hungry or not you are. I don't really have a particular person in mind when I post. It's for everyone because I want the recipes to be shared for everyone. So I want older people, but I also want the younger generation to start practicing and to start cooking the recipes at home themselves, so that doesn't get lost, because I really don't want the old recipes to get lost. I want to show, look, it's not that hard, you can do it. And take it to uni and make it yourself, or make it at home for dinner, prepare it for the week if you want to. After the website, I wanted to carry on developing it, so I started off with one book that I was building slowly whilst I was working and living and studying. So that was that took me 2 years, but I did not know how that book was going to go at the beginning. So it was sort of a project which I thought, look, this doesn't work, it doesn't work. Thankfully, as soon as I launched it, people seem to have loved it. I've got 3 now. In the past 4 years, I've done 2 more. The first one still sells because people still want the more homely, genuine recipes. But I've got one with 76 homemade recipes and a smaller one with a bit more Mediterranean vibe, a bit more tapas. And a last book with 100 everyday recipes, which is more of a twist on the traditional, things which are easy to make, things which have influences from other areas, and maybe a bit lighter, because people nowadays want things which are lighter and a bit easier to make and eat. So after the website, after the books, I thought videos was the next move. Now ideally I wanted to try and do YouTube videos by myself, which was really hard to do as one person, to do the camera, the cooking, everything. I don't know how people do it on YouTube. I mean, amazing.
I'm Justin, and like many Gibraltarians, I grew up eating my granny's delicious food. The smells and flavours created in my family's kitchen inspired me to learn and discover more about the mouth-watering dishes that make us Gibraltarian.
So I approached GBC, and thankfully they loved the idea. Although I wasn't too comfortable with wanting to cook myself on TV, I've never done it before. So I said, no, someone else should do it, but Paula was adamant, no, you have to do it, you'll be the person, you go. So that's how it started. We found a place, which was a lovely kitchen with an island so we could cook with. Got a great team, that's how it started. So just cooking to the camera, learning as I went along, because I had never cooked, thought about what I'm gonna say, think of what's coming next, make sure it looks good, and think of the camera at the same time, or at least, you know, try and bounce off with the director at the same time to know what's happening. But I think the response was great. The public loved it, and we've done 3 seasons, so I hope we continue. You never know. Well, the second season of the show is I got my mum, my granny, and a lot of other followers on the show. And I can tell you that cooking with them was an experience because I've always cooked by myself or had friends cooking, but never been in a position where I got someone cooking a whole recipe whilst I'm interviewing them or talking to me. And even though I've cooked with people, you tend to share it. I noticed that a lot of the older generation tend to take over the kitchen, which is a particular case with my granny. Mama is so used to cooking on her own that she does not let me do anything. So it was more of a case of me standing there and interviewing and chatting rather than, you know, cooking alongside. But it was really nice to do it because, I mean, for me personally, it's nice because now I've got it as memory. It's nice to show that, you know, you should cook with the older generation. You should cook with your mum and your granny or your father, and make sure that you share that, because cooking together is a bit of a bond, and it's nice to have that time, that quality time. Well, when it comes to social media, I tend to try and post a recipe a week. Or I notice that when I don't post, it affects the website views, it affects sort of how people interact with me. And then when I do post very frequently, because we've got the social page, but we also have the Facebook group, which is where the community sort of builds and interacts with each other. And I've got recipes being posted there all the time in the group, and they interact with one another, which is what I like, which is great. But what I like to do as well is mix it up, so you get a bit of Instagram in the stories, people know what's happening as and when it happens. You get to have that sort of closeness, and you get to have that relationship, and you know, you build a bit of trust with one another, and that's nice because it sort of builds up together and you grow together. It's not just you sitting behind the computer and pressing publish and just waiting for people to see your site, because that's not what it's about really. You just want to grow with one another. To publish one recipe online, I've researched the recipes I want to make. I'll ask my grandmother. If she doesn't know, I'll try and look online. I'll try and take bits from everyone, make a couple of versions to see what tastes nice. I'll make it, I'll photograph it whilst I'm doing it, photograph it when I finish, make sure that everything looks nice, then have to photo edit everything. But because you eat with your eyes first, the most important thing is the photo, because you want to sell it. As soon as you see the photo, you think, oh, this looks nice, let's look at it. And then you have to write it online, so make sure everything's on there. Basically, just after that, publish it and just spread it everywhere. So today I'm going to cook 2 recipes, one which I've made before, but I'm going to tweak it and make it a bit more friendly. And I'm going to make another frittata, so it's going to be really healthy, really light meal. I'm going to make it all here, fry it on the hob, and then I'm going to finish it off in the oven. We're going to take some photos, we're going to do a bit of a story. So we're going to make a recipe from the beginning all the way to the end to a published post, so that I can share it with my followers. And we're going to do a bit of stories and a bit of photographing in between. So come follow me. So I'm just going to start off with a bit of oil in the pan, and we're going to fry the chicken, because it's going to be the base of the chicken and mushroom pie, which we're going to start off with. I've got corn-fed chicken here, which is going to be really flavorful and really tasty. And we're going to fry it until it's all white and cooked. So now you've seen the show. This is the recipe which I've made with one of my mamas before. It was a big chicken and mushroom pie, but instead I'm going to tweak it this time. I'm going to make it into these little pots. So I've got these little cocottes, which I'm going to pour in the whole mushroom pie contents in there, and then cover it with the pastry on top. These are going to serve 1 person each, so I think they're ideal. If you're a single guy at home like I am, then this is what you're going to make. So whilst this is frying away, we're going to quickly season this. So we're going to get a bit of paprika, which is my favourite, and we're just going to pour in a bit. Parsley and garlic, and finish this off with some rosemary. Now I'm quite generous with my herbs and spices, because that is really what's going to give this the flavour. And leave the chicken to cook whilst it turns all white and clear. So every now and then, whilst the chicken is cooking, or whilst there's like a stop in between, I like to take photos for my Instagram and for my social media pages. So I'll stop and I'll just try and get a nice shot from the top. You know, we've got the lighting perfect, we get some nice shots like this. When you think you have it, we'll just give it a bit of a caption, and that's it, we'll post it. so people can follow the recipe and people get a live cooking feel as we're doing this and then get to see the final result. So like I said, now it's time for the mushrooms. Now I'm gonna make 2 dishes, which is what I said at the beginning, and these 2 dishes are gonna be mushroom based. So I'm gonna cut more mushrooms than I ordinarily do for this pie. So usually about a tray of mushrooms that you buy in the shop is enough. So I might go for like a tray and a little bit, but we'll see as we cut what we have. So now that our mushrooms are all in their different pans, we just have to let them fry. So we sit back for a little bit, wait for them to be done, take a few more pictures if you want to, and wait. Once the mushrooms are all ready, I'm gonna add in the cream to the chicken and mushroom pie mix. So, I'm just gonna pour this in here. This is sort of like mushroom, cream and mushroom soup. You get cream or a dairy-free alternative if you want. We're just gonna pour this in there. Let it reduce a little and mix it all together. And whilst all this is in there and mixed and all flavors are getting combined, I'm gonna beat a few eggs together to make this frittata, which I'm doing on the side. So I'm gonna usually make about 5 eggs when it's just a smaller pan just for me, but because this is slightly bigger, I'm gonna make at least 6 or 7 eggs. Combine everything so it's a really compact, really thick frittata. I'm gonna crack in 8 eggs, so I think we should just get cracking. Because the eggs are gonna cook straight away, we're gonna pour out and separate all this mixture into the different pots. So we'll just pour out about a spoonful or 2 of each. It's enough to get at least 3/4 of each dish. Because what we're gonna do then is cover it with the pie, and that's gonna sink slightly so we don't want it to get wet. So about that should be enough. You wanna leave at least a finger or 2 deep free, because we're gonna cover that with pastry. So as you can see, the mushrooms are all cooked. They started to go a bit brown on the edges. So now we're gonna cover this with the egg. This is gonna go straight into the oven once we're finished. We're gonna let this cook slowly in the oven for at least 150 to 170 degrees fan oven. So it's time to pour the egg into the dish, but I'm gonna make the most of it and get a shot. But this is a bit difficult with one handed. So it's time for the pastry now. I'm not gonna cook pastry from scratch because no one has time for that. So I've already got some store-bought pastry rolled up. It's puff pastry that we're gonna use. And what I'm gonna do is use this, the topping, as a stencil, which is gonna be about the size of the dish. We want it to be oversized. So we should be able to fit 4 in this. And now we're just gonna lay these out on an oven dish, on a baking tray, whatever you have handy. And this is gonna go into the oven until the pastry is golden and puffed and perfect. We're gonna serve this with a frittata. We're gonna enjoy this, and every single bite is gonna be delicious. All right, but now that the food's done, it's time for the beauty shots. For the future Mama Lotties, I would love to carry on posting recipes, maybe work on a new different project, whether it's a book or something else, I'm not sure. I would love to have my own products and stuff, and definitely try and film more videos. I mean, I love doing the videos and I love the interaction that people see when you talk to them. I like that, so I want to try and do more videos. Even if it's like one recipe and it's a 10-minute video, that's enough for me. So that's the plan. Whether I get to do it on my own at the moment, no, I would need like a bigger kitchen or something that I can then have the camera opposite and I can cook freely. That would be better, but slowly and steadily. Cooking to me is, I guess, a bit like a meditation, a way of relaxing. It's a way of being creative, so I just get whatever I can find and I just sort of mix it up together, and whatever happens, happens. If it turns out well, great. If it doesn't, screw it, I'll eat it anyway and then try not to do it again. But it's a way for me to just break from the day and just time to yourself. So you can put some music on, just cook, and that's what cooking is for me. But also to have connections and memories, because each smell, each taste will connect you to some sort of memory that you've had in the past. So I make a dish that I want, and then it might bring a memory from childhood, and I think, oh, that was a good time.